Yeah,
Um,
so I finished it. It was Immortality. Do you know anything about this game?
all I know is you said it's like Night Trap in a way, kind of, sort of.
So it's a oh, your B roll's not, it's showing something weird. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
It is it's a full motion video game. So when I talk about being like Night Trap, that's what I'm referring to. So these were real popular like early '90s, right? So they would have
Mhm.
full motion video. A lot of times you would have to like click on things. Like it was like a point and click kind of investigative kind of deal. So this is along those lines. Which I was kind of for because I haven't played one of these probably since like mid early '90s. So I wanted to kind of see if this genre has evolved much over the past oh man, like 25, 30 years. Hurts my heart. And it was the weirdest experience, man. So I'll just give you kind of the preface of what the game is kind of
It even looks
about.
like it was recorded in the 90s.
Okay, so that's kind of the point. So the premise
Or
or kind of the
80s,
setup for the
actually.
game is so there's this actress, is the chick you're looking at with the red hair, called
Mhm.
Marissa. Was it Marissa Marcel? I believe was the character's name or the actress's name.
Okay.
And something's happened to her. Like apparently she recorded these three movies, none of which ever saw the light of day, and then she just disappeared, like fell off the face of the earth. So your job is to run through the footage for all three of these films and try to figure, okay, what happened to this chick. And it was a weird experience. And
That sounds kind of cool.
and yeah, the premise is good. I'll tell you, this game, and a lot of people love this game. I know critically, it ranked really high. A lot of people were talking really big about it. I'll just kind of jump to. I fell a little flat on it towards the end, but it really all kind of happened at the end. So the gameplay mechanic of this is it presents you like the game starts. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain this because it's an odd one. Basically, it shows you a bunch of little clips of film, and you start it by selecting one of them. Once you select that first piece of film, all the other film is no longer accessible until you like can find your way back to it. So you open up a scene, like say you're looking at the scene right now where she's looking at that cell phone. What you do is you watch the scene and you can rewind it and go back and kind of pause it at sections, and then you can click on stuff. And then when you click on an item, it will jump you to either that item or a similar item in a completely different scene, potentially in a completely different movie. And it's a really jarring experience. So like you see her looking at the cell phone in that one scene, and then it'll jump her to a cell phone from like, completely different movie. So it's moving you around, you're watching these movies kind of out of place or out of context. So it's a really convoluted kind of experience at first, but it starts building up intrigue as you get into it because you start to piece together what the movies are about, and then you start kind of getting the behind the scenes of what the actors are doing. So you're not just seeing movie scenes too; you're seeing the movie scenes, but you're also seeing like behind the scenes footage. You're seeing interviews. You're seeing like rehearsal takes. Like the screen you're on right now is one of the scenes during a rehearsal. So like sometimes you'll see the finished like post production kind of scene, or you'll see them just kind of prepping for the scene. So weird experience to say the least. But as you go through it, you start piecing it together, and then there's a twist. And I tell you, like, do you have any interest in playing this game? Have you thought about it at
I'm
all?
kind of intrigued,
So I
honestly.
can't tell you the twist because the twist really, I don't want to say it ruins it, but it changes the whole kind of first half of the game. So this game is set up to be like a thriller horror game, and you could argue how horror-y it is, but once you start getting into maybe the first couple of hours, some weird kind of eerie stuff starts to happen.
Mhm.
And that leads to this moment where everything kind of flips on its end. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on what that thing is, but the twist leads to then a whole different kind of gameplay mechanic where you're basically looking for, and I'll just say like secret footage that kind of builds up this whole other kind of almost supernaturally kind of side story that's impacting the flow of all the other movies and what's happening with the actors, and that's all pretty interesting. The
Crab
catch
people. It's crab people.
is crab people.
It's always crab people.
And I'll tell you, I'm probably not explaining this well because it's the whole experience is still kind of jumbled in my head because I mean it is a jumbled experience. You're literally bouncing between all these different scenes. Just to kind of hit to it, when I got to the end of the movie, and not movie, but the end of the game, and I supposedly found out what happened, I felt pretty unsatisfied. Like the game like has a mystery that's pulling you towards the end, but your satisfaction of the ending you get is going to differ from anybody else, because the catch is, like, once again, you're clicking on scenes, randomly jumping around to all these other movies, and the scenes that you would see versus what I would see could be completely different. The secret scenes that you find versus I find, completely different. And you're basically, when you get into the credits of the game, you're naturally going to be missing stuff. There's going to be parts of the story you just never saw because the game said, okay, you've seen enough, here's the end of the game. And that was a really weird thing for me, because at the point that I got the ending credits, I didn't feel like the game had given me enough information about what was going on to feel satisfied. And we've talked about this before, especially when we talked about like Returnal and stuff like that. I do like games and narratives that have a little bit of open-endedness to it, so you can kind of theory craft and think about what happened. This game has that, but almost to, in my opinion, almost to a detriment. It is so open and so vague. And once again, that might just because the amount of context I got from the secret scenes that I saw, I was just missing too many gaps. I can technically go back and watch the rest of the movies and try to find other scenes, but part of me doesn't want to, because I'll tell you one issue I had with the game as I got probably 5 hours into it. The pacing really starts to get off, because it's based upon how quickly you can find scenes and kind of investigate stuff. And people are saying that, okay, if you are a good detective, you can find stuff quicker. I never felt that way. I felt like I was stumbling through the scenes. Like, I'm trying to find some random scene, so I click on some random object to lead me to some other random object. So, I mean, maybe I just missed something, and there is a way to kind of find a line through things and, like a detective, kind of figure out where to go, but I didn't really feel that way. So
it almost sounds to an extent like, do you remember the game L.A. Noire?
Yeah.
Where, like, that game was like super fun, because you would like go through these investigations and go through these scenes, and you would do all of this really cool investigating and questioning and sit downs and all that, and then like when you would complete your investigation,
right,
it would just come up as a page that would say congratulations, you figured out that this individual did this, and it's like okay, but I would have liked to like maybe have seen me arrest them or see how my investigation would unfold. And I think some of them did that in LA Noire, to be fair. But you know what I mean, where like you got that page and it would give you a score, A+,
and I feel like that's what this game could have used. Like, as I said, this game wants you to feel like a detective investigating, but the gameplay doesn't really allow you to really do that. Like, it really is random. Like, I'm sure somebody's going to argue that, no, there's a way to, know this item in the far left corner is what you need to click on. I kind of call foul on that. Like, to find certain scenes, I literally clicked on a random object that didn't correlate to anything else, and it just led me to whatever the next stumbling block was. And like the other thing you were saying too, like in LA Noire, it gives you at the end, oh, okay, you did it. You completed this. You found the secret. You solved whatever. This game doesn't do that. Like, and not that I want it to lay it out. Like, I do want it to feel, kind of natural as you're finding out, what happened. But these secret scenes I'm telling you about, they could be anywhere. Like, I'm hesitant to tell you exactly how to find them, because if you want to play it, you're gonna have to experience on your own. But
you don't want to feel as though there's nothing gained from what I just did. Like, that's never fun, at least when it comes to games. Yeah.
But it's hard to know when you've achieved enough, is kind of what I'm saying. Like, you'll have a scene, and let's just say, for an example, there are 2 hidden secrets in that scene. You have no idea if you found them. Like, you could scrub through the scene back and forth 3 or 4 times, think you found it all, but have no way to know for sure, unless you somehow, ultimately accidentally find everything in the achievement pop saying, okay, you found all the scenes. But there's like 300 scenes or something in this whole movie. So, and that's not counting, I think, all the secret stuff. So it's really hard to know if you found things. I was reading some forums. Some people have been going back and forth trying to like finish the movies. There's still scenes they can't find after playing like 20, 30 hours. Like, I don't know, something about that kind of hit me off. But either way, I'll start wrapping it up, because it's not this a bad game. Like, I appreciate what the game tried to do, and I'll say the first like 2/3 of the game I did really enjoy. Like, things that are really positive about it, the acting in this whole thing is actually really, really good. And it's interesting because these actors are playing multiple roles. Like, say you have an actor, like a real life actor, literally playing an actor in these movies, like the Marissa Marcel chick. So you have someone playing the actor, which is another character, and you have that actress basically playing multiple characters in all these other movies. So across the board, the acting's really good, and the movies actually take place in different time periods. That's why you're kind of seeing the weird film grain and stuff. The first
The
movie's
70s, 80s, and 90s.
it's not quite that broken up. Like the first one's actually I think like 1969, and the second one, which is the one you're looking at here, is like early 70s, 71. Then it jumps to like the late 90s. There's a big time jump, which is a whole nother weird thing. But I mean, the way the movies look and the way the acting kind of is set up in it, all of that from a quality level is really, really good. So I liked that. Trying to think what else I liked. The initial creepy twist was good. Like when you get to that, it's engaging and it does pull you through. That mystery wants to kind of get you to that next scene and find the next secret scene. As I said, I think your enjoyment and your patience with that is really going to depend how quickly the game gives you the next scene, how lucky you are to stumble upon the next thing. So maybe for some, it's going to happen really quick. You can run the whole game like 4 or 5 hours, get all the pieces you need, and feel really satisfied. I felt that I hit a point about the 7-8 hour mark where it was just dragging trying to find the scenes I needed. But either way, I can't really get into a whole lot more detail without spoiling stuff. So if you do play it,
I'll put it on my backlog.
if you play it, I'd like to talk about it because it's got some really like some cool kind of imagery, and it's definitely trying to say something. As it has a supernatural element, it has this whole
Would
kind
you play
of.
it on?
I played on
You see
Xbox. So actually, this is interesting. I played it on Xbox. I played it because my wife wanted to watch it, so we played it in our extra bedroom. And all we had in that room was an Xbox One. This is technically a series or a series game, so S or X. So it doesn't play natively on Xbox One. So I had to play it through the Xbox Cloud service, and that was a little janky. So some of my frustration might have actually come from that. There might have been some lag I didn't always anticipate, which might have affected how I was able to unlock certain things. So I don't know, that might have been part of it. I felt like for the most part it ran pretty smoothly, but there were a few spots I could definitely tell lag was impacting the gameplay. So take that for what it is. Playing it like natively on your system might be better. I know it's also available on the PC, so if you want to go that route. I'm not going to talk too much down about the game. There's a lot of work in this game, a lot of good like quality components to it. The acting was good, what they're trying to do is good. For me, it just fell a little flat. And maybe it's just because I missed some pieces. I'll be honest and say that could be on me. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I
You know
know
what,
I'm rambling at this point, so I'm sorry.
No, the thing that definitely interests me the most is the whole investigative aspect that you were talking about rewinding scenes and going back through stuff like
I'll tell you, that's gonna disappoint you if that's what's interesting.
Really?
Because
Oh,
that's what
okay.
interested me at first. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna feel like a detective, but I'm telling you, you don't really end up feeling like a detective. Like you might.
Never mind then. That's the most interesting aspect of
Well,
it.
I say that because like with an investigation, like you're looking for clues, right? You're like, oh, this thing is gonna lead to this thing, or it's gonna lead to that thing. That's not really how the game works. Like, I'm gonna pull up the scene real quick that you're looking at. So, like in this scene, those two masks, those would be items that you could click on, and when you click on that mask, it's gonna jump you somewhere. The catch is you have no idea where it's gonna jump you, and sometimes it doesn't even always jump you to the same place. So that's why I think it's hard for it to feel like a detective thing, because like a detective or an investigation would lead you to somewhere very specific. Like I pull on this thread, it unravels this, moves to this. And like,
Well, I love detective games. That's why I'm interested.
but I'm saying this game, like, it doesn't follow the process of how an investigation would work, where one clue naturally leads to another, naturally leads to another, and then you end up at this point. Like in this game, you can click on an apple. That one apple can lead you to 20 other scenes that have apples in it. Like, there's no way to know that you're going to end up at the same spot every time, so you can't really have, like, a true investigation. That's why I said I felt like I was kind of stumbling through the scenes. Like, I randomly clicked on someone holding a knife, and it took me to one of the other 20 instances that a knife showed up in the game. So, it's interesting. Maybe there was more they could have done from a gameplay side to make it, I don't know, a little more specific, a little more consistent. Or maybe I just didn't pay attention. I missed that kind of stuff. I don't know. And I also feel like sometimes the controls felt a little janky. Like the way you unlock scenes is kind of done by feel or by intuition. I'll kind of leave it at that. And I think it's just a little, I don't know, it doesn't feel consistent enough. So there were times I knew there was something hidden there and I couldn't unlock it just because I felt like the way the control scheme was trying to work was laid out weird. I think maybe if I would have played on PC, it would have worked better, because I watched some videos of other people playing, and they were able to access some of the hidden secret stuff really easily through their interface. So it might have been just an issue with me playing on controller, with the way they had you rewind things using like the analog sticks, which felt a little weird. I don't know. As I'm coming down kind of negative on this, but ultimately, it's an interesting game at the very least. Some people are going to come away from this really, really loving it. I know they will, because they're going to have a different experience than I probably had, where they got a more interesting backstory with a little more context, and maybe it just flowed a little more naturally for them. And then you end up with people on my end where it didn't, and then the way the ending kind of falls in your lap, you're like, that's it? There should have been something else, I feel like. But it will definitely lead to some discussion. If you do play this, I would love to get your opinion on it to see if it was drastically different. It's not technically a long game. It's supposed to only take like 6 to 7 hours if things go well for you. Took me closer to about 10 or 11, but my daughter also accidentally lost an hour of progress for me by erasing part of my my saves. So that's, you know, another issue. So I'll leave it at that.
No, I just want to throw in that you know, another game I thought of, but I love the investigative part, was I know a lot of people would probably look at, what is it, the Ace Attorney series. I've never played those, but I was thinking more along the lines of like my favorite part about Arkham Origins was all of the investigative stuff. For like, you'd pull up to a scene and you could just rewind it, fast forward it, you zoom, you zoom in on the audio and tweak the audio and all that. Like, all that stuff's great.
Yeah, and I think that's what this game wanted you to feel like. It just, I don't know, it needed a little more from a gameplay perspective to really, I think, nail home the fact that you were investigating. And ultimately, I don't even think they wanted you to do that, because I think if you were able to investigate to that level, you'd find answers too quickly. I think this game is very much about kind of waiting for a setup, waiting for things to happen, and it wants it to happen at a certain time. So I could be wrong. I feel like the game held off you being able to even find certain things until you play the game for so long. And that might just be me missing stuff. But I know there was like a scene I watched early on, like in the first hour or so of my game, and I didn't notice anything weird about it. Then I came back like 4 hours later, saw that same scene again, and found something I never saw before. So I feel like the game kind of prevented me from finding something too early. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just was dumb, missed it the whole first time. But then that makes it even harder to feel like I'm investigating, right? Because then there was a line I could have clearly followed to find something, and the game actively hid it from me. So, I don't know. I'm going down a tangent now, so I'll stop. We're done.
All right.